Come on in, Congressman Sean Duffy, joining us now, Republican, Wisconsin. Sean, what do you make of this? Like the Googles of this world, they're saying, no, we're not going to work with the Defense Department, but they will work with the Chinese. What's going on here?
Listen, Stuart, that's a great point. So Google says we're not going to partner with the DoD, the Department of Defense, and make sure we keep America safe against rising threats around the world. But it doesn't violate Google's principles to partner with China for a search engine that's going to censor the Chinese as they search the World Wide Web. This is insane. Not only that, all these tech companies in San Francisco, you know, they're hacked. Their new advancements, their new technology is stolen on a daily, weekly, yearly basis, and they look to the federal government to actually protect them. And so as they look to the government to protect them from hacks and stealing, they're also in the same breath saying, but we don't want to help America protect itself from rising threats around the world. I mean, I think it's shameful, but this is what you get with liberalism in San Francisco. You get actually anti-Americanism, which is frankly frightening and sad.
Let me bring this to your attention too. I'm sure you know about this, but look, the government, we are running a gigantic budget deficit, $779 billion, highest in 6 years. At the same time, we've got a 4% growth rate. You know, that's not supposed to be the way you do it. A massive deficit with very strong economic growth. The two don't jive.
Right.
What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, a couple of things. One, we don't have a revenue problem, Stuart. We have a spending problem, and you know that. So we spend too much on our entitlements, Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid. You know, those things are out of control on the spending side. But on the flip side, we spent a lot on our military. We had to rebuild it. But also the interest on our debt. We have 20+ trillion in debt. Rates are rising. We spend more to service that debt. So that's become another budget item that we didn't consider. We also see personal tax revenue to the federal coffers going up, which means more people are working, making more money. So that's a positive. The corporate revenue to the federal coffers has gone down. I think that's going to pay dividends in the long run. Tax reform as we start up new businesses, they make the investments, and those investments pay off in profits. We'll see more money come to the federal coffers, and we see the reverse of repatriation. We'll see repatriation of profits coming back to the states and companies coming back to the states. So again, I think this comes to tax reform, Stuart. Tax reform in the long run is going to pay dividends on revenue, but it's going to take time on the corporate side.
But you're in the House of Representatives. They handle the money. Can you see any way in the immediate future where we seriously cut spending?
Stuart, let me just give you an example on how hard it is. When you give people stuff for free, it's hard to take it away. So we're trying in the Farm Bill to reform food stamps to say if you get food stamps, you have to do one of three things. You either have to work 20 hours, you have to go to school, or you have to volunteer. But you can't be a buff and tough guy who's 36 years old sitting at home watching Sports Center and getting food stamps. We give an exception to those who have mental and physical disabilities and those who have little kids at home. But we can't get this reform in the Farm Bill to make people work who can go to work when there's help wanted signs all over the country. That's how insane Washington is. That's how broken Washington is. And that's the divergence that you have in the two political parties, that Democrats want to hold on to these programs when they're right for reform, and they cost a lot of money, Stuart.
Yeah.
I mean, small things have to get done even before we get to the larger reform issues if we're going to get our budgets in order. And you're right, our economy is growing far too much to have this size of a debt in our hands.
It really is. Sean, thanks as always for joining us. Always appreciated. Come and see us again. Thank you very much, sir.